Live from New York, it's Ask an Engineer.
Hey everybody, welcome to Ask Engineer. We're a few minutes late because our show and tell was epic. We'll tell you all about it in a minute.
Yep.
We have a jam-packed show. We've got videos, we've got Collins, we've got new products, we got NPI, we got It's Not Out Yet, we got like CircuitPython news.
Got a lot of stuff going on.
There's so much stuff, there's freebies. We just have to get right into it because we're not going to have time.
All right, on tonight's show, we are open, smart, and safe. We are shipping orders worldwide. Your orders support us.
Yes.
An open source hardware company in New York City. These are all pre-COVID photos. A lot of us look like this, but we have a mask on.
And gloves.
Show and tell people around the world. Show and share their projects. Lady Ada will talk about that and more. Some JP show highlights and some coming soons, along with a Make Code Minute. We have some time travel where we look around in the world of makers, hackers, artists, engineers, and this week we have a world premiere of Collins Lab. Everybody loves Collins Lab. I have a little bit of CircuitPython news. We got some main New York City factory footage, some 3D printed videos, and more. Happy 300th episode coming up. Noah and Pedro. We have everyone's favorite segment, DigiKey and Adafruit Present. IonMPI. This week we'll be going over Sensoron, the sensor company product that is this week's IonMPI. We have some new products. We have a bunch of top secret. We have questions that we will get to. You will have questions. We will have answers, and we'll provide them on adafruit.it/discord. We can all get together and join 25,000 of us over there. All that and more on, you guessed it, Ask an Engineer.
Yes.
Okay, so let's kick this off. Lady Ada, we are...
safe.
Yeah, so we've been
Shipping.
operating for 7 months.
We were essential.
Yeah, we got deemed an essential business. We were making face shields for New York for doctors when this first happened. Then we were
distributing
making
PPE.
electronics that were very much needed. There was things from ventilator components to things that tested stuff, so we worked on that. And then we got our team back on site for all the rest of the orders. We were able to partner up with our friends at DigiKey who helped us make sure things were going out. And we can continue to operate as a company. I know everyone's going to watch the news and they're going to see layoffs and businesses getting shut down. We'll be okay, but we're only okay when you place orders. So here's good news, bad news. Good news: a bank doesn't own Adafruit. We have no loans. Venture capitalists don't own Adafruit. They're not gonna leverage buyout, distressed asset, try to get us to merge or do weird things, or say, okay, you have to pivot to be a machine learning juice company now. They're not gonna do that. It just means that we have to sell stuff. So luckily we don't have a retail store either. We've always done online sales. We have all our distributors from Arrow to DigiKey to Mouser to all of them on adafruit.com/distributors. Those are just some of the larger ones. But place an order because that helps us and it keeps us in business. I think we're the only woman-owned manufacturing company in New York City. And if there was one before, they're probably not making it now. So that helps us. Please keep doing it. And our way of saying thanks, besides just saying thanks, is when you check out, you get different
Free
and unique
stuff.
free stuff now. So we're doing free stemmas.
That's right.
Yeah,
We've
yeah.
had the... Oh,
Well, you can talk all
okay.
you want.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe there's music.
There's no music.
Yeah, we were giving...
Stemma.
After, if you order $150 or more, we will toss in one of these cool Stemma QT board sensors, RTCs, driver boards. We have like a cool RFID EEPROM. We toss in a whole bunch of our most popular Stemma boards, and you'll get one free one. And if you make an account, we'll send you a different free one every time you order over $150. This is something that you get when you order from Adafruit. You don't get it when you order from other distributors. You should support them too. But to get these freebies, it has to be an adafruit.com order.
So we got Perma Protos, we got Circuit Playgrounds, we got free UPS
shipping,
ground, and we got Stemmas. So
and at every order level, you get all the previous stuff too.
It's our way of saying thanks. We also have on JP's Product Pick Show on Tuesdays, we do a really big discount. And you watch the show live from the product page.
That's right.
So that's what we're doing. So again, thank you so much, everybody. We're still around 7 months in, and it's because of all of you, our customers. So thank you. People around the world show and share their projects every single week. Moore is going to have a quick recap.
Yes.
Lady Ada, who is on the show and tell this week? What they share?
It was pretty much all synthesizers. We had, just kidding. We start off with Kevin from DigiKey. He got a Matrix portal. He got the last one, and he made a DigiKey PDC opening countdown timer. And you're wondering, what's a PDC? It's a product distribution center. So they're opening a 1 million square foot new facility to stock with all sorts of great electronic goodies to help engineers and makers hopefully make a better world. And it's opening in about 200-ish days. And so they've got a countdown clock. to keep the project on schedule. So that was kind of cool to see. And he did that all in CircuitPython. Zach from Bantam, they make cool circuit board machines as well as now a CNC, a new product. Came by and showed a product made with the CNC, which had milled out walnut. It had like aluminum, anodized aluminum that was cut, as well as a circuit board. Just kind of like 3 different materials, all to make a cool synthesizer that featured the Feather M4. Speaking of synthesizers, Carlin has a new video. We're going to show that soon. He came by and showed off his really nice MIDI synthesizer that uses body skin resistance to trigger different notes, and it uses Feather M4 with an OLED to give the resistance and like the note pitch. Aaron has a nice guide, a no solder Bluetooth controllable light strip. You're doing Zoom videos or learn-ins. You want to have a cool background. These no solder BLE lights can be quickly installed using NeoPixels and a screwdriver and one of our Bluefoot boards, and then controlled over your phone to set multiple different animations. Phil B has ported his eye project yet again. Every late summer, we chain him to his desk and demand that he port eyes to another platform. 4 years running, it's been working out. This time, it's to LED matrices. He's not chained. He just kind of has to, though, because it's Halloween. So you can check that out. 3 different awesome eye designs, werewolf, a cyclops, and a kobold. And also instructions on how you can design your own pixel art. Creepy looking eyes. Good thing to put in your window this Halloween, especially if you don't expect to have trick-or-treaters, just people walking by and checking stuff out. Or if you want to have a sign that maybe has these eyes and then like tells people to take only one candy. Nobody listens to that, but maybe if they have the eyes staring at them, they won't. Melissa tried out a new way to enable hardware SPI on the Jetson Nano boards, and it worked out. And so she got NeoPixel support for the Jetson Nano, as well as TFTs working. So it's very exciting. It's one of the things that was missing from the Jetson Nano, and they got that going without having to do any weird kernel recompiling. Brian got a bearded dragon, and so I guess you feed these bearded dragons cockroaches, and so now he's breeding cockroaches. That happens, if you get like an iguana that I think they eat like mice, and then suddenly you're like a mouse breeder. Anyways, so he built a really awesome IoT system for checking on the humidity and temperature of his cockroach breeding grounds. And they look adorable, or so I've heard. Nan Pedro and Liz did a MIDI Maker collaboration, a really beautiful acrylic and vinyl cut and wooden enclosure for a feather with a MIDI feather wing that drove Liz's robotic xylophone. Sounds really cool, and it was. JP had a preview of this week's JP workshop. It's going to be doing sprite sheet animation. He's an animation professional, so he's going to teach you all the tricks of the trade. And Seth came by and was inspired to start a board business. Now's a good time to start a business. You're at home, make electronics, sell it. You don't need a retail store. You can just send it in the mail. And he's making it at Mega Board with a stemma connector.
All right. All participants on the show until we get a nice thank you, until we're shipping stickers again. Just a reminder, it's part of our 8 different live series of shows. So 7:30 p.m., that's when you want to come on, show and tell. Then, later on, just keep sticking around. And then we do Ask an Engineer now. So those are the shows. Remember them, like and subscribe, hit that alert button. It'll let you know when we're broadcasting live. On Sundays, we have Desk of Lady Ada. And on that show, we have... That is the sound of us searching, and that is Lady Ada showing you how to use DigiKey and how to get all the parts that you're looking for. So we have the segment called The Great Search.
I also have tips and tricks, like this week with SPI Flash, and I've made lots of mistakes while buying SPI Flash, and I'm going to teach you all of those mistakes so you don't have to make them.
JP Show, we have a few different ones. There's JP Workshop tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. We also have the... product pick, but let's take a look at what's coming up and also a little highlight from JP's product pick of the week.
This is the product right here, BNO55, the 9DOF orientation sensor. First of all, what's 9 degrees of freedom? That means that this is giving us essentially rotational positioning data from 3 axes of an accelerometer, from a magnetometer, and from a gyroscope. All of that data can be massaged and fused to give us the thing we really care about, which is a heading, pitch, and roll, which is where is this thing pointed in space. Like we said, these can be used for navigation, for robotics, for personal fitness, for drones, for toys, for laptops, and that is why this is my product pick of the week.
Okay, and every single week we have a Make Code Minute. JP, take it away.
All right, so for the Make Code Minute today, you can see it right there. What I wanted to show was an example of doing a type of candle flicker animation very simply inside of Make Code. So what I have going on here, you can see there's a little diffuser that I've put on a Circuit Playground Express here, and then I just have all the pixels set to a kind of an orangey, warm yellow. And in my code here, what you'll see is that I have essentially one function that I created called flicker. And inside of this, I'm doing a few things to give us some nice randomness. First of all, I set the minimum brightness value to some random number between 70 and 100. Then I set my maximum brightness value to a minimum of whatever that minimum was, so that starting point, up to a random value, which is between 140 and 180, minus that minimum brightness. So this gives us a very particular range that can change, but they're always going to be nicely related to each other. And then I have a couple loops here. First, we go and index increasing the brightness by 1 until we get from the minimum to the maximum. Then we pause a random amount of time. Then we get a new minimum so we can drop down a little darker. And then we run through the thing in reverse. We drop down until we hit that bottom level and then pause again. And you can see the results there. I think they look nice. And you can also take a look in the console here where I'm displaying what those look like. So you'll see there's never a jump. It's always going to be a continuous line. And it has some little pauses in there and things that you can see. But I think we get a nice, somewhat realistic candle flicker. It's a nice warmish kind of glow. Looks good if you don't look right at the pixels too. Let me move that up there. You get this kind of nice cheery. You could also use this for sort of like a fireplace glow. But I thought that was a nice way to do it in a very simple type of loop. And so that is how you can create a flicker animation inside of Make Code running on the Circuit Playground Express. And that is your Make Code Minute.
Okay, so tune in to all the different JP's shows. As someone said in the chat, they really enjoy how JP's videos are getting more and more outrageous. That's right. We are maximizing every algorithmic possibility to game the YouTube system to have this video about electronics go to #1, thus beating the latest conspiracy theory video that's on
Look,
YouTube.
I mean, it's not a coincidence we named the cutie pie after PewDiePie.
We didn't, but that's funny. Yeah. So anyways, keep tuning in on that. All right, let's do some time travel. Okay, time travel. Look around
Let's
the world.
travel to the future.
Well, sort of. We changed our graphics up on our site, and we have adafruit.com/vote. Here's the deal.
You have a month.
Can you hand me my little? So I got my absentee ballot in New York. The name was right, the address is right. It's me. It's all that stuff. Anyways, because you never hear about all the millions of things that worked out. And if it didn't, I'd also say something, by the way, because I'd be like, hey, is that right? It didn't work out. But anyways, I got mine. Lady's probably going to vote in person. I'm going to send mine, and we're going to do this. And
I might get my mail in if I can.
yeah, and well, who knows? We'll
do a full month together.
We're going to figure it out. But adafruit.com/vote has voting resources, but mostly we put it up there because there's poll workers that are needed. There's people that want to participate. We have a very can-do DIY community that wants to do something. And I think that's one of the things, no matter, where you are on the political spectrum, you probably feel like you want to do something. Hanging out on Twitter is probably not the best thing to do. So consider it. So check out our resources and more. And this everyone's going to ask for probably the rest of your life. What were you doing in 2020? Because we have pandemics, we have some
Economic devastation.
global catastrophes. We have a lot going on. So I think one of the things that we should all do, if we can, is vote. So if you're in the U.S. and you can vote, you may as well join us in this mess. It is our mess. It is, and it could be our beautiful mess together. So that's our news about that. And thank you to the people who have posted up in the channels and the comments and emailed us and said, "Oh, I wasn't really going to vote or anything, but I saw the resource page, so I did." Or they said, "Oh, thanks for making it easy to find the poll worker resources." It's really important, and it's just one of those things that we get to do. So we should do. A lot of people in other locations in the world right now don't get to vote, and they wish they could. And a lot of people made a lot of sacrifices in their life so we could vote, so we should. So that's my little voting thing. Now, the best news of 2020 so far, I think, is we have a new Collins Lab.
That's right.
So Collins Lab is a series that we do. Colin and I met almost 15 years ago, and I met him at an event that I helped run when Etsy was like 5 people. I had started a Make magazine office because I had moved from Seattle to New York. I met Colin. I'm just like, this guy's cool. And eventually Colin worked at Make Magazine with me, and we did a bunch of videos together. And then when we were able to, when we got together and we're doing Adafruit stuff, I said, hey, we should get Colin to do stuff with us. And so the latest Colin's Lab video is here. We will continue to try to do more. We're going to try to do even smaller ones so we can, crank out more. But thanks for hanging in there because, this last 6 months has just been like, hold on tight, everybody. Everything's going to be all over the place. But one thing that's consistent is Colin. And
never changing, like
the
a
quality
rock.
of videos that he does is fantastic. So Colin, take it away. And that's the latest Collins Lab. We'll have more ahead. We have a new shorter series of things that we're doing as well. And thank you so much, Colin, who is a triple threat. He can sing, dance, and act. So
He's also a silent movie star.
well, he shot that and edited it, and he did that.
He did the whole thing.
And I one of the treats in life that we used to have, pre-March essentially, was sometimes I got to work on a video with Colin. Colin and I worked on the Circuit Playground series with the puppets together.
We were getting so close at the end.
And when you're doing puppetry, you're very close to each other. And so now the only person I'm around is Lady Ada, and doing shoots and masks and everything is possible, but we're making sure we avoid that if we can. And Colin was able to put this all together by himself. So thanks, Colin, because I know people really enjoy these videos. All right, more time travel. Don't forget the Circuit Python 6 beta is going on. You should download it and use it because now's your chance to get stuff fixed. A lot of people are using Circuit Python, and a lot of people are using it in all sorts of ways we never expected. So get the latest beta, flash your devices, and more. And if you're wondering what's going on in the world of Python on hardware, you should go to Adafruit Daily and sign up for the Python on Hardware newsletter. This week, highlights in the newsletter include Halloween projects.
Halloween!
We're doing
projects.
doing Halloween projects. I think one of the things that, and I'll go over a couple things in the newsletter, but one of the things I wanted to focus on, Kattni was doing the audio version of the newsletter each week, and I think I can get back to it now too for a segment in the show, and we're focusing it on like what things can you actually purchase and then like do stuff with Python, and now Halloween. And one of the reasons we wanted to talk about that is it's really hard to get those spooky sounds you want, that specific pattern for your costume, and it's always been really hard. It was hard to do with microcontrollers. If you have to download an IDE, if you have to do a lot of stuff,
embed it as a header file.
Yeah,
it's so complicated.
So we have a Halloween countdown display matrix, Creature Eyes, Monster Mask, Halloween. We have Circuit Playground for Halloween and jack-o'-lanterns, and we have all sorts of things that you can do with Circuit Python where you don't even need to know how to code, but it gets powerful really fast. So if you want to have a robotic project that like moves and it says a scary sound and has lights, you could do that with Circuit Python really easily. And that's one of the things that was always hard to do with these like DIY Halloween projects. And I've been working on this for like almost 20 years now, all the way back in the world of Make, where it's just like, wow, Halloween electronics is hard to do. That's why a lot of people just buy like off the shelf stuff, because you can't just, there wasn't anything that you could just like drop a sound, drop an image, and now you're done.
Yeah.
So anyways, there's a lot more CircuitPython music projects this week. Some events, Hacktoberfest is every year. It'll be even more virtual. DigitalOcean sponsor this. So if you want to do some open source projects, check that out. PyLadies, we have some news about their latest events coming up and more. Scott's doing a really big deep dive this week on Friday, and he said he's adding this thing in this notes file so it time codes to the URLs.
Yeah.
Check that out. We have some back to school stuff. I'll actually just say it straight up. Like, our back to school sales are way different this year than they were every other year, because schools aren't going back in the same way. So this is one of those times where if you have a lot of at-home learners, pick up a Circuit Playground Express. You can have them, you can flash it and now they're using MakeCode, or you can just flash it and now they're using Python, CircuitPython. So other bits of news around the web, you can see some of the things that we got out, like our QtPy board. There's sensors that you can, the QtPy got out pretty fast. People have already used it. There's an internet calibrated clock using ESP32S2 using CircuitPython beta. Once again, that's the latest and greatest chip. It's Wi-Fi, it's ESP32, and it runs CircuitPython, so check that out. Some Python for Kids resources. There's a new driver for the SparkFun STU USB 4500 USB delivery. You can get that on Read the Docs. And you can check out just more stuff that we have in the bigger world of Python. It's all connected. And then we also cover some of the new products we have and more. Check out the number of libraries we have. We're up to 273.
Yay! We'll hit
And
300 soon.
CircuitPython.org/downloads has all the boards, well over 400. And then we have Blinka. So check that out. That is our Python on Hardware news for this week. A couple more events. A lot of these are
Subscribe. You'll get it in your mailbox
a lot of
every
these are
Tuesday.
virtual now. And then, as always, there's a lot of people that are looking for new opportunities. So we
Yep.
have our jobs board. You check that
It's
out
free.
as well. Okay, so that's our Python on Hardware news this week. Okay, we are an open source hardware company. It is Open Source Hardware Month coming up, starting tomorrow.
Yeah.
I have some posts planned. So there's a couple. So last year I did a post a day because we weren't dealing with a pandemic. So I'm not going to be able to do that this year.
Yeah.
So I'm going to try to do a couple posts that I don't know exactly how or when, but I do want to celebrate some of the folks that are out there doing open source hardware. And there's a couple things I can use some help with from the community
Yeah.
that I just want to fix.
Okay.
And we'll see
boy.
how that goes.
Okay.
We'll see how that goes. And speaking of fixing things, so 7 years ago, Lady Ada, we
Yeah.
wrote up a thing called the Internet Things Bill of Rights. 7 years ago. One of the things we said is, boy, it'd be great for all these IoT devices to have an on and off switch, especially on the microphone.
Yeah.
And we sent emails, and we said it on our shows, and we met people at Google, and we met people at Apple, and we met people at Amazon, and no one did anything until now.
Finally.
So go Google.
Well, they saw our
I'll say this.
Braincraft hat, and they're like, "Oh, what a great
I'll
idea!"
say this. I know Google, the people who work on these things are our customers, because I used to ship the orders.
Yeah.
Go Google,
You repeated it, and eventually they did it. It's a mechanical
good,
switch.
Good on you, Google, because we're all under a lot of scrutiny for everything we do, and Google gets dunked on for things, and maybe they don't always get the kudos, but I'm giving them some kudos tonight.
Kudo up.
This is a physical switch that when you switch it, the microphone is off, and there's a visual thing like an orange color, so it's off. It is now off.
You
That
can
is
see from across the room.
yeah. So that is something. Did we have anything to do with it? No one ever admitted if we did, but I'm going to take a little bit of credit for it because we've been banging on this drum without a mute button
7 years.
for 7 years. So, anyways, and that is part of our, Internet of Things Bill of Rights. We think there's a lot of open source opportunities. If you look at what's happening, Apple has used privacy as a selling point. So Google can step up,
Yeah.
step in, and put a switch on it.
HomePod doesn't have one.
If you love it, put a switch on it. So, anyways. Next up, we have 2,302 guides, Lady Ada. What's on the big board? What's going on this week?
Okay, so last week we finished up with the moon phase clock for the Adafruit Matrix Portal. That was from Phil B, and he's following up this week with the Matrix Portal Creature Eyes. Eyes, but now in CircuitPython. It comes with 3 cool pixel art designs, but you can also create your own, and please send them over. We'll share them with the community. You also are catching up on some product guides, thanks to Katney, who's back in town and is the one who helps me get these guides done. We've got the Cutie Pie guide. So people who bought a Cutie Pie and you're like, what are the pinouts? What can each pin do? How do I install CircuitPython? What if I want to put the SPI flash on the back? Check out this guide. JP has a Purple Air AQI display. Purple Air is an online, free air quality service. I guess you put in your location and it gives you your air quality. Pressing, this is a pressing need for people because they are in areas that don't have great air quality. You want to know whether you need a filtering mask or just a plain cloth mask for your day. It's that kind of year. Check out the guide. It's for the Matrix Portal. Knowing Pedro and Liz Clark collaborated on the MIDI Melody Maker. We'll show a video about that soon. Very cool project with the new MIDI Featherwing. Aaron, as we mentioned, has an easy, no soldering, Bluetooth controlled room lights. If you want to add really cool effects using Katney's awesome LED animations library, this guide will get you started. And again, you don't need solder, just a screwdriver and a couple Adafruit parts. Brent created a guide on Adafruit I/O schedule triggers. So if you want something to turn on or off every 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. or whatever, these schedule triggers make it really easy to set up. It's like when you were a kid and there was you had a little automated ring thing that you could plug something into and set the on-off times. It's like that, but it's completely electronic. And we, thanks to Melissa for helping out writing the guide for the Adafruit Matrix Portal M4. People also wanted, downloads and files and Arduino and example code. Also, the code for the LED sand is also included, as well as instructions on how to use it with a 64 by 64 matrix. So, lots of great guides this week.
Yeah, we got this. And then we also had the eyes. And we're up to 2,302. So we'll keep cranking away at guides.
Yeah, I'll get to 2,500 in the next year.
Yeah, I know. I probably should mention it. Learn.adafruit.com is a free resource. We don't paywall it. There's no newsletter thing that pops up. Back when times were different, I would mention this stuff because I would remember.
Yeah.
But because everyone right now has to use the internet so much, every time I go to a website, it's just an assault. And I'm trying to get rid of this bar and this newsletter and this thing, this cookie, this GDPR.
Yeah, I hate when you scroll and then
nothing.
it locks you out. It's just
Yeah.
it's the internet, man.
Yeah. What's interesting is, so we were all forced to do this GDPR stuff.
And then
But couldn't have the same people that forced us to do the GDPR stuff, maybe they could have worked on the mask problem. We all had to be compliant, or else.
yeah.
Where's those GDPR people? Why aren't they in charge of masks? Okay, anyways. So we got some other stuff going on.
Okay.
We got some Made in New York City factory footage.
Oh, did you want to show the?
Oh, do you want to show the Bluetooth light thing?
Only if you want. I mean, I think we could show a little bit of it.
Yeah, let's show it, and then we'll go. Then
a
we'll
short
then we'll
video.
go to the footage.
Okay.
Okay, now we're back to the footage.
Yay.
All right, so we got some photos and more, some pogo pins.
They're cool. These little,
Yeah.
looks like chess pieces.
And it wouldn't be factory footage without either a sunrise or a sunset and the never-ending Disney construction site across the street from Adafruit. I think this is where they dig up pieces of the Mandalorian and they put it together somewhere else.
It's the Yoda burial ground.
Yeah.
Baby Yoda.
Yeah, this is where they grow them
Yeah.
in the
In
ground.
pits.
You've got to grow the Yoda before you free the Yoda. I don't know. I don't know what they're doing there, really. Okay.
I don't think anyone does. You can see how far they've gone underneath the street there. You can
Yeah.
they got the ramp, but
All right, so we got some 3D printing. Again, some congrats to Noah and Pedro for their 300th 3D Hangout coming
it's a
soon.
lot of shows.
It's the longest running, most popular 3D print show ever. So we're going to show 2 videos back to back. We're going to do the mini project, and then we're going to do this speed up helmet.
And then NPI on the other side.
Yeah.
Stick around.
Hey, what's up folks? In this project, we're making a MIDI instrument with CircuitPython. This is a fun project that lets you create melodies using MIDI notes and lets you play with modulation and other parameters. This uses the MIDI Featherwing, so you can plug this into any instrument with a standard MIDI jack. There's a built-in 3-volt optocoupler, so you can interface with MIDI using Feather's 3-volt logic. The 128 by 64 OLED lets you display text and graphics so you can see the values and parameters. With Stemma QT, you can easily add a display to your projects to plug and play. To start playing, press the push button. You can adjust modulation to change the shape of the sound. The note division lets you adjust the length of the notes. You can switch between different modes like minor and major triads. Dial in the key of the pattern to create your own arpeggios. Use the slider to adjust the beats per minute. Blinka also nods her head along with the BPM, acting a lot like the metronome. To make these sounds, I have this plugged into my Microkorg synth using a MIDI cable. The MIDI out from the Melody Maker connects to the MIDI in port on the back of the Microkorg. The Featherwing doubler lets you plug in 2 feather boards and has plenty of pinouts. This project uses the Feather M4 Express and the MIDI Featherwing. This allows the project to be more modular, so it's easy to swap out the feathers. You can get the parts to build this project, links are in the description. We designed the enclosure to be made from pieces of wood and acrylic. To make sure everything fits, we use 3D models of the electronics. We set up user parameters so we can quickly adjust the size so it's easy to scale it up. Manufacturing models allow us to set up stock for each part so we can set up toolpaths for CNC milling. We only need 2 end mills to cut the pieces and use 2D contours and pockets to create the holes and outlines. 3D models of Adafruit parts are on GitHub, so please feel free to use them in your projects. This uses the MIDI library for CircuitPython. The code for this project was written by Liz Clark of Lit City DIY. It's nicely commented so you can change up the MIDI notes and create new modes or control different MIDI CC messages. The REPL serial monitor lets you see the values change as you adjust the potentiometers. This is a great way to debug your code or get feedback from the parameters. Definitely check this out if you're interested in making MIDI projects with CircuitPython. To cut our parts, we use the Othermill desktop CNC from Bantam Tools. I cut wood and acrylic stock to size so they would fit on the spoil board. I also made some decals using our Cricut vinyl cutter. An 1/8" flattened mill will do all of the wood milling. I used Nitto tape to secure the piece of wood to the spoil board. I faced the top and bottom of the wood stock so it would be nice and level with the spoil board. I think the 1/8" flattened mill is great for wood because it can do a max depth cut of about 1 millimeter. After facing the material, I proceeded to run the next job, milling out the pockets. With the acrylic being an 1/8" thick, the slots are perfectly sized for this tool bit. Tabs from the acrylic panels will press fit into these slots so everything fits together. The last operation is a 2D contour which creates the outline of the part. These wooden side panels ended up being 12 millimeters thick. After the milling was complete, I made sure to vacuum up the sawdust and thoroughly clean the mill. A bit of alcohol softens up the tape, and a thin spatula lets you pop off the piece from the spoil board. I did some light sanding on these edges, but overall a nice cut from the other mill. I created a second side using similar procedure. Onto the acrylic using a 1/16" flattened mill. This tool is ideal for cutting our acrylic panels. I used double-sided Scotch tape to adhere the acrylic to the spoil board. Milling the acrylic took a bit longer than the wood because the max depth is about 0.1 millimeters. The top panel has most of the mounting holes, a slot for the slider, and a cutout for the display. again using a bit of alcohol to remove the acrylic from the spoil board. The top panel looks really nice in this frosted purple color. Next up is the bottom panel. For this, I used a dark purple colored acrylic. Using the same tool, I made very similar cuts, mostly the outline. I switched over to an engraving bit so that I could engrave the CircuitPython logo onto the bottom panel. My engraving tool is a bit dull, so it left behind some burred edges. I ran the engraving operation a second time and found that actually cleaned most of it up. If I were to do this again, I would probably try a deeper engraving to make the cut really pop. After a bit of cleanup, the parts are good and ready for assembly. I left the wood insides unfinished, but I'm thinking I might add some shellac to make it really pop. I made some labels using a Cricut vinyl cutter for the top and back panels. I applied the vinyl to the acrylic and used the holes as registration marks to line them up. A squeegee helps knock out any air bubbles. Slowly peel away the transfer tape and be careful not to lift the edges of the vinyl. This holographic vinyl has a mirror finish that changes colors at different angles. I did a quick dry fit of the parts before panel mounting the components. The potentiometers are panel mounted using the included hardware. With everything wired up, the panels are press fitted into the slots of the wooden sides. So if you want to build something like this, be sure to check out the Learn Guide. I hope this inspires you to check out CircuitPython for your next musical project. Thanks so much for watching, and be sure to subscribe for more projects from Adafruit.
Wednesdays, 11 a.m. Don't forget. All right, Lady Ada. It's that time. You ready?
Yeah.
DigiKey and Adafruit bring you
on NPI.
the S stands for sensors.
That's right. It's from Sensorion.
Sensorion, the sensor company
Also sounds like a Marvel character. Sensorion.
Yeah,
Has all the senses.
from Planet Sensor.
That's right. Tragic story what happened to the Planet Sensor. Sensorion is actually a spin-off from ETH. I think they're in Switzerland, and they have some offices around the world. And they make great sensors. We love their temperature and humidity sensors, the SHT series. They've been doing this for quite a while, and recently they branched. Well, they've also done carbon dioxide sensors. They also have particulate sensors, but they branched off into doing gas sensors. I really like their gas sensors. So when I saw this new gas sensor from Sensorion on digikey.com, I was like, sweet, because I'll make a breakout for it, and I'll also use that as an excuse to make an ion NPI. So this week's ion NPI is the SGP40.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Let's show
Okay.
all of it.
This is it. So it's a little surface mount chip, and what it does is it can measure volatile organic compounds. It does that with an MOX sensor, a MOX sensor. It's a metal oxide. So how does that work? Surface sensors have different. Basically, sensors are. There's not only so many different ways you can measure something, and resistance and capacitance are kind of the most popular. Either you can somehow turn your thing you're measuring into a resistor, or you can turn it into a capacitor, or maybe you can turn it into a voltage. In this case, what you have is a piece of silicon, and what you're seeing here is actually very small. there's a hot plate, but the hot plate's actually just like it's actually just PCB material that it's like a resistor, just like you have on like a 3D printer. It's like a gigantic resistor. On top of it, you have this MOX layer, this metal oxide semiconductor layer that's on top, and it's particularly designed so it absorbs hydrocarbons, and that changes the resistance. And then you can measure the resistance across this sensor. And this is all kind of like embedded MEMS technology. So it's kind of good stuff. The previous sensor that we have been stocking and really like is the SGP30. And this is also a gas sensor that does volatile organic compounds and can kind of mimic carbon dioxide measurements from that. It can kind of back calculate them. So the SGP30 is like the previous version. This one's a little bit different. As I played with it today, I wrote a drive where I kind of learned a little bit of the differences. They're basically both gas sensors, but this one kind of just pops out volatile organic compound measurement and effective carbon dioxide, whereas this new sensor gives you the raw metal oxide sensor reading, and then it's calibrated, but so it's the same between chips, but you get the raw reading, and then you would use their library to calculate, basically air quality. So what I like about this is that most metal oxide gas sensors, you saw that there was this hot plate. So the hot plate is like a resistor, and you have to like control that, turn on and off, and it's like, can draw, a couple hundred milliamps or like 100 milliamps or so. And then you have to read the resistance, and you do that with an op amp, or you do that with a resistor divider. What I like about the SGP series is it's got like this very basic and very easy to use I2C interface, and the I2C isn't that weird. It always drives me a little crazy when some companies, they do really unusual I2C, but this one is actually pretty simple. You send in these 2 bytes with the command, and it returns back a couple bytes with the data. And there's like only 3 commands, so you don't have to think too hard. And there's a CRC with the byte code, the data that comes back, so you can calculate the CRC value to make sure you got the right data. But it's pretty simple. You just like send 2 bytes, receive 3 bytes. And the data you get back is this raw reading from the resistance. It's not the exact resistance, but it's a calibrated reading that tells you approximately what the resistance is, like to a calibrated amount. And then they haven't yet, at the time of this video, released the library for converting that into volatile organic compound readings, but hopefully it will be released soon. And I hope they do it in a permissive way so that you can easily use it in various libraries with different chipsets. This is basically how they expect you to use it. You would take the SGB40, you'd also grab one of their SHT humidity sensors. You use the humidity sensor to like optimize, like you want to kind of make sure that you don't have humidity affecting the measurement, because humidity normally does make the resistance change a little bit. So for the best precision, you would have a humidity sensor as well. You plug that into the driver, and then out pops the VOC index. And I'll try out the code when it arrives, but apparently it gives you a number between like 0 and 500. And so it's designed to be a very simple way of doing air quality measurements. So when most people talk about air quality, and I kind of like this graphic because this is very handy. So air quality has like 4 different components. And this is the one on the left. This is the VOC, the volatile organic compounds, like ethanols and other gases. And I'll show you even alcohol works quite well. At the top, there's CO2. And Sensirion also has a CO2 sensor. I think it's called the SCD30. Check that out. It's a really great true CO2 sensor. A lot of sensors that are surface mount and low cost, they're effective CO2, but they do have a true CO2 sensor. As we mentioned, their relative humidity and temperature sensor series, the SHT series, is great. I love the SHT 3X series, the 30, 31, and 35 different accuracies. And then PM 2.5, which will give you like particulate, like chunks of stuff, like dust in the air, which is what you have to deal with when there's forest fires.
That was in the news. People know about that now, and where everyone buying masks, that was one of the criteria. Is the PM 2.5 the same thing as N95? All sorts of stuff.
Yeah, so now
All right.
Suddenly everyone's an expert at this.
So
you can pick this up.
it's available, of course, on DigiKey. And we have the number 164SGP40DR4CT and D.
Well, that just means cut tape.
That's my
Yeah.
exam of the week. And digikey.com/short/ZWZJQB. And you can, of course, just search for it on the site.
SGP40 on DigiKey. And check out the SGP30. So they're not exactly the same. They're a little bit different. But they're both air quality sensors. And I think this one, when you add their library, I think it'll be able to like give you more information. But you have to do that like microcontroller based processing. So next up, because I did get a driver working, I have here my Qt Py board. So I've got just USB-C power connected to a quick connector for Stemma Qt. I reworked one of my SGP30 boards. This is SGP30, but it's actually SGP40. And then I've got the OLED displaying this number. This is like the 16-bit number. So then you're like, well, how do you elect a response from a sensor that's for air quality? I don't want to reduce the air quality here, but you can do a great job with alcohol because alcohol is, an ethanol. So you can take the cork from this very nice liquor and you put it near the sensor and you'll see the numbers dropping. So it was 27,000, now it's 20,000. If I get it really close, so maybe I can get it to drop even more.
Once in a while in the past, if there was alcohol around me, I would drop.
Yeah, like that. So your resistance drops. Just like Cuban resistance drops when alcohol is involved. So you see that, when I really saturate it, the resistance goes down. And then when I remove it, it slowly crawls up. And one of the things that they really tout about the SGP40 is you're going to get similar performance from chips. So you don't have MOX sensors, gas sensors are known for their variability. You need to calibrate them. These apparently have a lot less variability from chip to chip, so you don't have to worry about the auto calibration procedures that you'll have to do. And also, they don't degrade with time. It's another thing that happens to gas sensors. They degrade over time, and the sensor has to be replaced because it gets tarnished, basically, or oxidized. But the process they're using for these sensors apparently lasts, they say, up to 10 years. So, so you see it's already back up to about 25,000. So a great way before you.
And that is this week's Ion MPI.
Thank you.
on MPI.
Okay, before we get into new products, Lady Ada, someone in the chat said, where do you get a cable like that? I'm going to go back to the overhead.
The cable.
Where do you get a cable like that?
Oh, this power. I don't know. This is from Phil's. We have a similar one in the store, though. I don't know where you got this from.
Yeah, I think it
came with something.
I think it was a freebie from these things that used to be called tech conference events.
I think so, too.
I think it was in like a tote bag.
But it's very handy for demos because
Unless
sometimes it's micro USB.
Yeah, but the other cable, the Stemma cable, we have those in our store.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Cool.
Next up, let's do this. You ready?
Yep. New.
All right, new products. Please place orders. We like staying in business, and we like shipping stuff, and we like doing a good job making electronics here in the U.S. And the only way we can do that is if folks click the Add to Cart button and then check out. And don't forget, we have all sorts of freebies you get and things that you can buy right now. We got a bunch of different
Wires.
wires.
I love wires, though. So this is really neat. Somebody emailed us and said, hey, can you carry like this ultra thin wire? They called it Litz wire, but I don't believe it's actually technically Litz wire. It's just ultra fine gauge wires. And in fact, they're so thin. The person said that they've sewn with them. They put them in the sewing machine because they're basically like wax thread. So
It's a spool.
yeah, it's just they come in a little spool of 10 meters, and they're incredibly small. Like, I mean, they're 0.5 millimeter diameter down to like 0.28 millimeter diameter. So extremely tiny. And then this shows you there's 4 different gauges that we're stocking, 30, 32, 34, and 36. They get thinner, but and they only have a rating of about like 30 volts, and like they say 100 milliamps, but you can kind of push it. I mean, like if you're not, that's the rating, but you can kind of spike it up a little bit if you need to like pull 300 milliamps really fast. But do be aware, they're very thin. So this is the
Yeah, this photo is
36
deceiving because I'm like, when I saw this, I'm like, oh, it's just like a spool of wire.
No,
It's like more like a spool of thread that happens to be wire.
Yeah, I mean, it's really thin. It looks like thread. Let me get it to focus lock because it's just so
Yeah.
skinny. But it's basically like wax thread. It's so thin, but it's stranded wire, which I like. So usually when you have to use silicone wires, they don't go below 30 gauge, and that's why we have 36 and 34. Like, why didn't we go higher? Because we already have silicone wires that are 30 gauge and above.
Yeah.
But these are very thin, and the jacketing is Teflon, so it's a little stiff. But it feels a lot like wax thread. Like it's got a little bit of stiffness, but it's still like you could sew with it. I think I didn't try because I'm a sewing machine, but I believe it. And it's stranded wire. It's easy to solder too. Very fine wires. And it looks like there's about like 10 or so strands. It's available 10-meter spools in 4 different thicknesses. We carry a lot of different wires, but people really love having the options. You really don't want to have just PVC coated, 20 gauge for everything. You want to have different wires for different situations. Can really make your project shine.
Okay. I agree.
Okay.
Here is a big old panel.
This is a 3mm pitch LED matrix. So we have.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go to this because hold
on. I gotta
Bing.
unravel this.
Yeah, I'm gonna go to the so you can see this right here because this is the only way to really show this off.
Sorry, okay. So I have it with a matrix portal on the back. I don't want to mess these up here. Give myself a little bit more slack. Okay. So this is it's got the LED sand demo in it, and this is just showing you it's a lot of pixels. Yay! Fun times.
That's cool.
You can drive it with our matrix portal board. You just have to solder on. There's a little jumper on the back. You solder to tell it to use address E. And our libraries in CircuitPython and Arduino work for it. People really like these 64 by 64 LED matrices. They will say, you can't use this with an Arduino. You need way too much memory, like Arduino Uno. So you need like a SAMD 21 or an ESP 32 or some other like more powerful processor. Am I blinding you? Sorry.
No, it's really beautiful.
Yeah.
Because I was comparing how it looked like, the cameras always handle LEDs different, but like these are like really nice.
Yeah, they're beautiful little pixels.
Yeah.
So it's like an LED wall, but I like the squares. I want to make another cube project maybe.
Yeah, it's like they're really
what's
bright,
funny?
and
It's actually-
the colors are like really distinct.
It's hard to do the sand demo because I'm looking and I'm like, why is it moving? And it's like, oh, it's the
Yeah.
other way. So check out, we already have a 2.5mm pitch one. This one's a little bit bigger. And we got a new supplier for LED matrices. So the pricing is much improved. So if you're like, I've always wanted them, but they're expensive, check again because we've dropped the prices on our LED matrices. And now you can definitely put them in your project.
Yeah. All right. I didn't know what these were when
Yeah, they're weird.
I didn't know what they were when I was putting them in the show tonight. And I was going to ask you about it, and then now we're doing the show. So hey, what are these?
These are SOIC sockets. And I saw a project with one of these and I was like, oh my God, that's so cool. So these are SOIC sockets that have the same footprint as the SOIC that they would socket. So you can actually solder this onto a board and then use it to swap out chips. And the 2 packages that they're available for are 8 SOIC and 16 SOIC. So it's like the same make, the same company. It was like Weson or something. I think they're a Korean company. One thing to watch out for is they're only for wide SOIC chips because I think these are used for people who are like swapping and trying different flash chips on like FPGA boards or like Linux computer boards or whatever. Usually your flash memory is on a wide 16, so it's like 8-bit SPI, or on an 8 SOIC wide quad SPI chip. So that's why you're like, why can't I get these in narrow? Not available. They're only available in wide. However, they're nifty because, like I said, the pinout of the bottom, which is here.
This one?
Yeah, the pinout of the bottom is the same as the pinout of the chip. So as long as you have the physical space around it, you can solder it onto a PCB that's designed for an 8 SOIC wide. You don't need like any special footprint. It's the same footprint. And then you can like turn it into like a socketed setup. And they're like pretty cheap too. I can just show one off really fast on the overhead. So this is, I have it just soldered onto like a little socket here. I was using this to test flash chips. And then to remove the chip, there's like this little latch, which is going to be really hard to do live. Hold on. One thing I've noticed is, yeah, okay. So you remove the latch and you pop the chip up, and then, the chip just falls out. But like I said, you're like, oh, I bet I could fit a narrow SOIC in. No, you can't. Believe me, I tried. It gets loose and it doesn't fit in. I mean, you could press it down, but you'd just be unhappy. But with a wide SOIC, you flip it over, and now it's nice and secure.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's very cool. I really think this is quite handy, especially for people who are like, they're trying different flash chips or different software. You don't want an SOIC clip, or maybe you have to like physically remove it. Good option.
Next up, I got some wires.
Some more PicoBlade compliant or compatible cable assemblies. So you get the socket, you get the plug. These are great for inline connections. We already had the 2-pin, now we have the 3-pin, and we have the 4-pin. I really like Molex PicoBlade. It's, again, a very nice small connector, and you get a pigtail of each connector type. So you can see here it's great for making inline connections. If you don't mind bigger connections, our JST SH series cables are good too. But these are really nice and small. You can see them compared to a quarter. So pick up 4-pin, 3-pin, and we already have 2-pin in stock.
Yeah, we also have these. Okay, this is cool. I'm going to start with what it does, and then we'll work back to what it is. So you might be like me and like some very old Xbox games that aren't available in any other way other than on DVD. But you want to plug it in and like maybe screen capture or whatever. Now you can.
Yeah, we have, this is like the sister product to the HDMI capture card. This is an AV capture card for NTSC or PAL or S-Video. So we've got multiple options. And it's pretty simple. You see here, you've got composite in and then left and right audio. And it does work, audio does work. Or you can do S-Video, which is going to be a little bit better quality because it's split.
You get a bunch of stuff that looks like this, but you want to put it into something like this, you got it.
And it's perfect. So when you see that for the Xbox, which is a great demo because it's like a really old device, some people probably still stream Xbox games. They're super fun. But it only has composite output. This is a great device to use because you plug it in and then it just shows up as a camera. And the audio comes into the camera interface. And it looks great. I will say, you're still converting composite into USB. So just because it's becoming digital doesn't clean up the signal. It's still going to be kind of fuzzy because it's like composite. NTSC is just a little fuzzy. It's not the greatest resolution. Like it'll come in as like 1024 or whatever, or 720p. But it's not like it's resampling it. It's just sampling it at the frequency and at the resolution, and then kind of scaling it up. So. Just be aware, if you're like, hey, my signal's kind of fuzzy. Yeah, that's why we don't use composite anymore. It's fuzzy. But for, any kind of thing that has NTSC or PAL or S-Video out, this is really easy. Doesn't get easier.
Okay, the star of the show tonight, besides you, Lady Ada, our community, our customers, and our team, is...
This is cool. Other feathers that I didn't have to design. This is the Actinius Icarus feather. So taking flight with feather. This is using the NRF 9160 GPS, LTE, and NB-IoT cellular modules. This is like an all-in-one, does everything cellular module. And I remember Nordic was like, hey, do you want to like do stuff with this chip? And I'm like, I'm so busy. But it's a really cool chip. And then, we got a note from Actinius, and they're like, well, we're going to make a board, and if we make it feather compatible, is that cool with you? And we said, absolutely, because then I don't have to do it. I'll just sell it.
The feather ecosystem is up to thousands of boards altogether when you add wings. So this is exactly what we wanted. And, here's the other thing.
It's kind of cool looking.
Made in the Netherlands.
Yeah. So it's a Dutch company.
Yeah.
I will say, it's a little pricey because it's cellular, and cellular, LTE is not cheap. And another thing is that it doesn't run Arduino and it doesn't run CircuitPython. You're going to use Zephyr RTOS. That's what you program this chip. The microcontroller is inside, and it has a cellular connection, but you're going to be using an RTOS. So that it doesn't, the Zephyr RTOS is a really great one. I think if they're going to pick one, that was the right one to pick. However, if you're somebody who's just kind of like very Arduino or CircuitPython happy and you're not quite ready to install tool chains, you might want to just be aware and take a look at the guides before you jump in, because it's not going to be like you could just take your Arduino code and just plug it right in.
If you use Zephyr, you should just pick up one of these because this is just cool.
Yeah, it is a great Zephyr board though,
Yeah.
and we like Zephyr RTOS. So
Yeah.
congratulations to Actinius to releasing this. In fact, it's funny, we only picked up a couple because I was like, well, I don't know, people are going to want it, but we actually, I think, sold out already. But we will get more in stock. Very powerful new Feather, a great new board for developing with this chipset. I think the dev kit for this is much bigger, so this is like a nice portable battery-powered version. Another thing to watch out for is it doesn't come with the antennas. You're going to need a GPS and LTE antenna. I think we have GPS antennas. We definitely have in the shop. I don't know that we have LTE. You might need to pick one up. DigiKey, I'm sure, stocks them.
Yeah. Good products. Okay, so important things to do. Don't forget to add some stuff to your cart because we are
Get free
open,
use.
smart and safe. We are shipping things
Register to vote.
very fast. You get free stuff.
Free stuff.
You get to vote for now. You get all that. Let's do some top secret,
Okay.
and then we'll answer some questions.
Yeah, I got a live top secret.
So here's some top secrets. You can just say what these are really fast. We'll play one video.
Okay.
Actually, I'll take care of this one. This is our new 2.9-inch e-ink Featherwing. It's part of our Think Ink series. We do a lot with e-ink. We are doing a lot more. It is on its way.
Got a new SHT31 board for that's Stemma QT compatible. I wanted to get more designs converted over, so this one is the latest one that's going to be coming out.
Yeah. We post these up so you can check them out on our social medias or whatever, but this is like guess what we sent off.
This is a panel party.
Panel party. So you can guess what all the things are on there. And
can
then
see
we have
testers.
a coming soon product. Don't ask, it's not out yet. Okay, lady, what is this?
Hey, I'm testing out this voice bonnet with the Google Assistant. Hey Google, what is Adafruit?
According to Wikipedia, Adafruit Industries is an open-source hardware company based in New York City. It was founded by Limmer Fried in 2005. The company designs, manufactures, and sells a number of electronics products, electronics components, tools, and accessories.
All right,
Cool.
thank you, Google. So this voice bonnet adds stereo speaker output, stereo microphone, a button, RGB LEDs, and an I2C port. So this Stemma QT connector means I can add things like an OLED display. So when I ask the Google Assistant something, it'll actually print out what it thinks I'm saying. That's kind of a cool way to add more accessibility to voice assistants. It's kind of a mini version of our BrainCraft hat.
All right, and then this is a big deal.
This is coming soon. So this is the ESP32S2 Express. Scott helped me out by making a board definition, and it's got an ESP32S2 rover. It has DC in.
That means Wi-Fi.
It has battery power and recharging, so you can plug in a battery and take this project on the go because it's wireless. So I felt like it's kind of important. And there's a NeoPixel. There's a Stemma QT connector. There's a reset button here. A couple LEDs, an on-off switch, which I think is handy for wireless projects. And it's going to be ready to go really soon. This was Rev A, but I kind of did a good job, I think, or something, because I kind of got most things right. Only the red LED got misconnected. I got to fix that one thing. There's also a debug port over here, optional if you want to solder an SWD connector. It's JTAG, but on a 2x5 SWD connector package. So you'll be able to use this with an external debugger like a J-Link as well.
Okay,
Coming soon. Don't ask, it's not out.
back in the vault.
Get in the vault.
All right, so we're going to answer some questions. We're going to do that over on Discord, adafruit.it/Discord. Join us, all 25,000 of us. It's question time. There's a couple lined up. I'm going to get to them right away. Please put them in Discord. That's the
Yeah.
easiest thing for us. But I'm going to grab one from YouTube anyways.
Okay, cool.
All right, so Lady
Line
Ada,
them up.
is there a HID emulating product you carry that will allow me to trigger GPIO over USB by listening to a server over TCP/IP?
I don't don't completely understand what you're saying. Well, I mean, you
Okay,
can.
so I know what they want to do. So they want to emulate like a keyboard or a mouse or something that triggers GPIO over USB by listening to a server. So they basically want to like turn something on and off over the internet.
I think you can use our Metro M4 Airlift board. Can do native USB. It has native USB, so it can act as an HID device,
Yeah.
and it has Wi-Fi. So you could definitely.
Yeah,
have
I don't
it-
think the GPIO part is necessarily needed in this.
Yeah. I mean, I think you can emulate it in a keyboard. I mean, you could do it in CircuitPython. It'd be an easy project. You could, have it connect to an external service like Adafruit IO, so you don't have to worry about your firewall, and then emulate a USB keyboard, and it could like type keys. And then if you want GPIO, there's GPIOs too.
Got it. Okay. This one. So if we could create hardware for Mandalorian season 3, what would it be? So I have a weird answer for this one.
Okay.
So here's the thing. There's a lot of people who watch, The Mandalorian,
Yeah.
right? And everyone right now in this country and our world is separated. So the type of hardware that I would create for it is if you're watching the show, there's some physical thing in your home that is a reminder that other people are watching at the same time because it's now all streaming. So streaming takes away the specialness sometimes because you're not all waiting around until 8 o'clock. I mean, some people are.
Yeah.
But when you can watch anything anytime, it's not as special. And so, there's something energetic about watching something live. Debates on TV not included. That's a little draining. But you know what I mean? It's like there's something about that. So I think I'd want some like force device, like to stay canon with the Star Wars universe, where if like anyone I know is watching it, it starts to glow. And so then maybe I decide to watch it. And then we would like communicate and like, or maybe you can like be like watching roulette. You just put your ID out there, and if someone else is watching, they can choose to let your orb know. I just think like there's so much disconnection. So that would be my idea for that.
Okay.
Okay.
I just want a dark saber.
You want a dark saber? Yeah, we're posting up a project about that soon. Yeah. Okay. So this person uses the SGP30 and the CC811 with Adafruit IO, of course. I was going nuts that they would both drift. Then I put a cover over the sensors and drifting stopped. Must be the dust hitting the hot plate causing drift. Otherwise, have you heard of this?
It could be ambient. Like these gas sensors. First off, you don't want to trigger them too often. You have to protect them from humidity. You have to protect them from exposure to dirt that could affect the resistance. This is an issue. Try the new SP40. It might be better for your purposes. I don't know if it has less drift.
Okay.
They say it does.
Blue Fruit Easy. We don't have it right now. We're gonna do a replacement product at some point. Next up, will the SOIC socket fit your Cutie Pie?
No, because it's not for the wide SOIC. I mean, you could kind of sort of probably make it work, but it's not really designed for that.
Yeah, and then Liz, I think, was answering the previous question that came up is how to do the turning things on and off over internet and USB. And Liz said she did that with Adafruit IO and the Metro Airlift.
The Metro, it's a great board.
yeah.
I think it's underappreciated. I think it's not one of our most popular ones, but I think it ought to be because it's a great price. You get Wi-Fi, you get a SAMD51, you get Arduino and CircuitPython. It's got compatibility with our shields. It's a great board.
Yeah. All right. I think that might be it. Oh, here we go. When using Arduino, what Adafruit board first comes to mind for ultra low power consumption when sleeping? CPU speed is not super important.
I actually think that the Cutie Pie is going to be really good because it has an onboard RGB LED that you can turn off. And so I didn't design it for low power, but I definitely thought about it because I was like, well, it's so small. People are probably going to want it for low power. There's no LEDs on it, so you don't have to worry about any power LED using up current. But that would be my bet.
Plus it's small.
Plus it's small.
It's cute.
Yeah, it's cute.
Okay.
So I've heard.
I think that is going to be, unless another one pops in. Yeah, that's it. That's our
Okay.
show for tonight,
Thanks,
everybody.
everybody.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much to Cara behind the scenes and Nate
Thank
for
you,
Slack,
Takara.
taking care of stuff. Also, Cara has excellent blog posts. All our blog posts are great.
She trained her.
I
She learned from the best.
I
But now she's overcome you.
Cara was going to school, and we had some cool mentorship and opportunities at the company. So, anyways, my hobbies are reading our site, so like I do look forward to this. So anyways, thank you.
Good posted it.
And thank you everybody who's ordering stuff. That's keeping us going.
Thank you.
And that is our show for tonight. We'll be back next week, 7:30. Don't forget is Show and Tell, Boop, and 8 p.m. Ask an Engineer. 7:30 Show and Tell, 8 p.m. Ask an Engineer. Go take care of that voting stuff, so you can't complain later.
Don't worry, you won't have to hear about us talking about that for more than another 4 weeks, and then it's over.
Yeah, or something like that. All right, we'll see everybody next week. Keep making and sharing and being good to each other. See you later.
Thanks, everybody.
Here's your moment of Zener.